There are a few Leeds players that I am genuinely properly fond of above the rest of them. Everyone has them, the sort of players that they sort of attach themselves to and go, I'm really invested in you. So, for example, Junior Firpo's redemption has been really, really nice because as a person that's always chucked into left back at Sunday League, I can relate to being an underperforming left back. I always like Patrick Bamford's 2-month runs of fitness where he manages to prove himself the best striker in whatever league he's in, and then he gets injured a little bit again. And one of my favourites might be leaving very, very shortly. Long and short of it, Illan Meslier is the subject of a lot of Marseille interest at the moment. So let's check out the report. Let's find the details, learn what's going on with it, and ultimately get to the bottom of this big old story. It was reported by Foot Mercato, who are reasonably reliable a lot of the time. They've got a few people that are on the ball consistently, depending on who they're reporting on, various countries of various players. In France, fairly solid, which is why this is something that we definitely need to be paying attention to. And the article is as follows. Now, little warning for you. It is a little bit in French. And Google Translate is having a trouble, but I know bits and bobs of French, so I can get the general gist across. In essence, they're looking at signing Illan Meslier to be one of the Olympians, which is an Olympique Marseille player. They need to massively reduce their salary cap because they're no longer in the European Cup, Europa League, I specifically think they're talking about, with new coach Roberto De Zerbi coming on and needing to sort of change some things. Also got some changes with the president and councillor being particular sort of performers of this massive wage slashing thing, and it means the loss of players such as Ismail Kone, which would be probably a bad thing for them. There's also discussion of, in effect, it's possible that Pau Lopez could be escaping the club, and that means they would need a new goalkeeper. And they have apparently been in contact with Illan Meslier. I like that one, especially French there, just because it's a French club talking with him. Then it goes into a little bit more detail about his time at Leeds United. So he had a season in the Championship, a couple of seasons in the Premier League, and then we didn't get promoted because of the match against Southampton. Familiar, this could show the end of the adventure. The history shows something about the club. Basically, it doesn't matter. But it also notes that if you want to be playing for France, you need to be at the top tier, ideally playing continental football in a European club, which Marseille tends to be. So they're saying this is something that Illan Meslier is likely to be looking for. His contract ends in 2026 with Leeds, which means that there's 2 years on it. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that, and he's been here for 5 seasons, so he might effectively be looking for a move. At the age of 24, he's a perfectly good experiment for Marseille, and is someone that is sort of exciting for Roberto De Zerbi. Now, all of this combined, for some reason, something got stuck under my mouse there, and I couldn't make the thing removed. All that in mind, the fact that they are looking to cut their wage bill, which means they could lose their goalkeeper. They're theorising Meslier could want to move 2 years on the deal. Is a departure looking likely? Basically, first up, you need to consider that 2 years on the contract means that it is time for a decision no matter what. With 2 years on the contract, either you wait a year and their value drops through the floor because the year after that they go on a free, or you renew their contract, or you sell them. The last two, the contract renewal and the sale, are the only likely ones, because the club and the player know that they are both of the options that are best for everyone involved, and we have to consider that we would likely make a profit on him. We only need €4 million to profit on him. Combine that with the fact that all of his original expense has been accounted for on the books. It is pure books profit. In my opinion, it comes down to a question of replaceability. And how replaceable is he with someone that is better at a championship level at the moment, not just in terms of shot stopping, but in terms of having the ball, close control sort of stuff. How many other goalkeepers are you going to see take on a striker as the striker's rushing towards them? Yes, he has the occasional error when it comes to goalkeeping stuff. Every goalkeeper does. And you've got to consider, still young, and is he at his highest value? That youth means he's got more developing to do, which means that maybe there's a bigger sale in the future if we were to extend the contract. another big question that we have to have as well is, what does he want? Because it's not just Leeds United that are making this move. He also has to make the decision. If he wants to move back to France and play in Ligue 1 and potentially push for a place in the French squad, this is something that he has to do. And we need to acknowledge that, especially when there were conversations last season about how he was potentially looking to play in the Premier League because he rather wanted to play for France. But at the end of the day, is it the right move for Leeds United to sell Illan Meslier? Because it is our decision as much as it's his. If he wants to go, sure, he can push for it, but we saw with Nonto last season it won't necessarily happen. And honestly, I don't know. As far as goalkeeping goes, he hasn't always been the best shot stopper. He has the occasional error in him, but at the same time, he's got a couple of worldies in him. He does have reasonably comfortable close control. His short passing is fantastic. Long balls, not good, but he's never played under a long ball coach, so that doesn't tend to be the biggest of issues. At the same time, the area that he excels the most is one-on-ones. Whenever you see a striker go up against him one-on-one, rather than thinking, striker's got a score here, I genuinely approach those with a thought of, there's a 50-50 chance that Meslier gets a hand to this and stops it. Those are some talents that you will really need in the Championship, because the way that Leeds United play fairly high up the pitch, clubs are going to hit us on the counter and we're going to be in one-on-one situations and we're going to need a goalkeeper that is an expert at those. And whether or not that's Illan Meslier comes down to what the club decide to do. I personally don't think he's reached his potential yet. I think there's a lot more value to come from him, and I admit a lot of what I'm saying right now comes from a place of emotional investment. He's one of very few remnants of a team that we all fell in love with, and I'll admit I did. I'm a relatively recent fan. Came in the Thomas Christensen period. My first Leeds match was that loss in the FA Cup, and then it was into Bielsa after a bit of hecky. And that second season with Bielsa, where he took over from Casilla and looked very, very good and solidified himself as a goalkeeper that could be, I wouldn't say relied on, but was genuinely solid enough. And then his first season in the Premier League was fantastic. That got him in the conversation for the France squad. And I admit that all of this is very emotional and all of this is very, from me and it's personal, but I'd really like to see him stay. But I do understand the people that would like to see him maybe go elsewhere. Maybe see how he does in Marseille. I wouldn't mind him staying. I understand if he has to leave, but ultimately I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below what you would do with Illan Meslier. What is a good fee for him, approximately, if you were picking something out? And who would you get as a replacement? That's the big question for me. It's similar to the Farke conversation. People saying Farke out, but not saying who they'd replace him with. What goalkeeper would you replace Illan Meslier with right now, if you had to? Either way, hope you enjoyed the video. Like it if you did, subscribe if you're not yet. I'm trying to get to 4,000 before the start of the season. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see